Connected.
Saita Media is the Facebook page, right?
My mom taught me to sell at a spaza shop. She ran a hair salon. I pretty much learned entrepreneurship from my mom's.
Ngumntu ngabantu. That on your own, you can't really do it. You need the support of those around you.
You will have a network of people, a network of communities, and a society that will make sure that you count.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of opportunities at Youth Connect. And today we are talking clothing, textile, and fashion. Now, that is quite a broad industry, but I would like to quote directly from the Saita president, Rashida Muller. I connected with her earlier today, and she very eloquently said that this industry is a sunrise industry. The sun will never set on this industry because fashion is always going to be relevant. Clothing and textile is always going to be relevant and it's always going to be needed. What is also very interesting is the statistics that she shared in terms of, particularly in the Western Cape, where a lot of the clothing manufacturers have closed, and which has then resulted in many of those that were in the formal sector actually moving into the informal space where they started their own little manufacturing companies. I mean, how interesting is that? So that was not by choice, but more specifically as a result of having to generate an income to survive. But that creativity was then pumped in differently. So there's been an increase in particularly the sector in this industry. But I think also for me personally, what I've discovered with when we talk about fashion and we talk about clothing, I think it's a very personal thing. For my own personal experience, what I've discovered is that you also discover a lot about yourself. You discover about what is your unique trend, what is my fashion trend, what makes me feel comfortable. It also pushes you out of your comfort zone to try new colors, to try new sort of bolder look and feel. And you actually, in that process, discover new things about yourself, isn't it? But the
Yes.
two ladies that I've got on our panel today, um, we've got Suraya Williams of Design 26, and then we've also got Fasega from Yours Truly by Fasega. So I'm very excited to have these two ladies with us today, and they will share with us their journey operating in this space, in the clothing, textile, and the fashion space. Welcome, ladies. I would like to give you this opportunity just to introduce yourselves and to also to answer me very simply. Why fashion? Why clothing? Suraya, I'll start with you.
Hi, thank you, Samantha, and welcome to everybody who's joined us. So, my clothing range or brand is Design 26. And why fashion or why clothing? Like you just said, the president of Saita said, that clothing, there will never be not a need for clothing. And a lot of the clothing manufacturers that closed down, which was one of my or my late mother was one of those ladies who was retrenched at that time. And as much as we also want to confidently say that it's a industry that will never close down, it once did. And if we don't have the support of government, then it could happen again. As much as we need clothes, we don't necessarily need local clothing, and that is what we are activating, or trying to implement, is to get people to buy more local brands instead of going to your international brands, so that we can strengthen and reclaim back that industry. And that is why I'm in the clothing industry, is literally to restore that industry, to revive it, and to employ people from my local community and show
Okay,
them
thank you,
how beautiful
Soraya.
and nice it is to be into this industry.
Thank you, Soraya. I'm going to come back to you because you made a very, very valid point when you said that there is definitely not enough support from government, but more particularly also looking at how this industry can actually be used to generate job opportunities, particularly and for our young people, for our youth, and to make it a very attractive offering, isn't it? So I'm going to come back to you on that. Besecha, what is your story? Tell me why fashion?
Hi. Why fashion? I think it's a personal choice. Like, I love clothing. I've always loved clothing, and I always wanted to look unique and look different. So I started sewing. I did a course, a pattern sewing making course, so that I could learn how to sew for myself. I never ever expected it to be a part of like a business. I never ever thought that I would go into this industry as a business. Never ever thought of myself as an entrepreneur, to be honest. So yeah, it was basically, I don't know, I love fashion, and that was the main thing. Like, I wanted clothes that was comfortable for me and clothes that was different. Yeah, so that's basically my story.
Thank you, Fatseha. Thank you so much. And I know that you are wearing some of your brand today, a cute little bow on your head and around your neck. I know that is your brand, isn't it?
Yeah, yes,
Fatseha,
yes,
you
Ethan.
also we recently had the first Cape Town Informal Traders Fashion Show that was held last month, and you were actually from 10 designers that actually had the opportunity to showcase their fashion. You won you were the designer that won. What did that feel like for you? But I also know there's a little bit of a story there because you were initially not even going to showcase your brand on stage. So maybe just briefly share that moment with everyone listening in.
It was super nerve-wracking, but super exciting at the same time. It was the very first time that I did something like that, a fashion show with my own brand. Um, it was it was exciting. It was quick. The ladies were awesome that wore the clothes, and I had to literally come up with designs within like a week. And those were also some of the designs that I made and wore, and people were interested in the specific items that I wore that I showcased on the day of the fashion show. So I try to go with things that people kind of asks for, and I always said no for. So I thought, okay, let's design a brand for Saita fashion show that speaks to me and will speak to other women as well. Like on the more comfortable, more versatile type of range. And it was super exciting. It was overwhelming. A lot of opportunities came up after the fashion show that I never even expected. I didn't even know that I was being, like people were actually sitting there and marking down, and it was judges and things like that. And I only found out when they said, Pasika, you won. So it was super exciting. It was super
Yes.
exciting.
No, it was, and it was very exciting, and it was awesome to see the talent that we actually have available, particularly in Cape Town. But I'm going to come back to you, Fasika, because I know subsequent to the fashion show, there's been some very exciting things happening in your business, which I'd like you just to share. But I'll come back to you on that. Soraya, I know that you are also one of the business person of the year, top 24. That we just had the finale recently, and you won the clothing textile category winner, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Suraya, just briefly, what is that experience been like for you, and what has it done for your business, but I think more specifically, what is your next? Because there's always a next as an entrepreneur, isn't it? What is your next subsequent or since that? Because I know you're involved in so many things at the moment.
My next is basically, so as much as I am building this brand, I'm also a social entrepreneur. I am a feminist, if you can say it. And for me, it's all about empowering. And when I saw the stats of the youth unemployment just recently, and then I saw another stats of, I won't even call it teenage pregnancies. It looked like baby pregnancies because it's literally girls between the age of 10, I think. And for me, my next step is literally with my brand and with my program that I'm running is to do some damage control, if that makes sense. So as much as, yes, I have got this brand, I see potential above that, potential of restoring hope, and employment, and being a winner for in the Saita category. For me, it was big, as much as it's an informal traders alliance. It once again, it just gives you that flash or light onto your brand, and the more people get to know about your brand, the better it is for you as the business person. Um, I don't often call myself an entrepreneur because I believe that an entrepreneur is solely just for the purpose of making money. I'm more of a leader, because I believe the type of leader, you go out, you don't know the way, you find the way, and you show the way. The same like Saita with us, there are some ways that we don't know. You guys go out and go and find the way. You show us, and then you show us the way. And that is what an entrepreneur, in my perception, should be.
I like that, and I like that, and I think the way that you put it is so apt in terms of it's like an access point, isn't it? When you're on entrepreneur, you're always looking for what are those various access points that I want to access or that I want to create opportunities. And you touched on a very alarming statistic that you were referring to of our young girls in terms of the increase of the teenage pregnancy, or the babies that were born during a very short period, very young girls. So and one cannot just sit back and kind of just go, oh, okay. No, if you're in a position, particularly in an entrepreneur, if you're in a position to make a difference, then why not? And then you should, isn't it? What I'm very interested to hear about, Soraya, is that I know that you offer um, training courses to young girls. Is that right? From the community, that equipping them with the essential skills and tools to enter into this industry. If you could maybe just briefly sort of encapsulate what that entails, because I think particularly with the youth that is tuned in, that are listening, in terms of how they could then access that kind of opportunity and what is required and needed.
Yes, so I offer a beginner's sewing skills training, and it is free to girls between the age of 15 and 20. And when I say free, I mean no money, but you pay with commitment. I do not tolerate you coming this week and next week you're staying out, and then you have some sort of an excuse, and then we go into the victim mode and all of that. And it's a 12-week period where I basically teach you how to operate the machine. There's a lot of life skills in between because we have got a lot of mindset that we need to change. Because in order for you to be a resilient entrepreneur, you cannot go and blame and look for fault. You need to be the solution. So besides the sewing skills training, and because it's a CETA accredited course, even though it's over a 12-week period, you are still then indebted to Design 26 to come back after your course has ended. We make our facility completely available to these girls. So if you want to start your own brand, whether it is like the little bow that Fasiha has got on her head. I've got like two girls that does like flex bands, and one does scrunchies. It's small little things that they are making, but because they don't have the machines, and Design 26 Foundation often gets, um, fabric that is being donated. So I sometimes give them some of the fabrics if I do have. I make my facility available for them to come and use the machinery, start their own product, label, assist them if they don't know, which I don't think in a lot of cases, the youth, they know how to work social media and set up. But then also to do it on a professional way, not post pictures of you standing on the beach in a two-piece bather. So that is what the course entails, and it is CETA accredited. And even if I say it is free, there's no catch to it. You're not going to be shipped off to another country and be sold, but you're actually going to sell your commitment to me. When it comes to commitment, I think that we lack a lot of that sometimes, and we go on to the blame game and blame everybody else except us around us. So, yes.
I love that. I love that. I love what you're saying, Soraya. And I 150% agree with you that commitment is such an important um, characteristic to have, because if immediately it changes your mindset, it changes your behavior, it changes your approach. Because although, like you say, although there is no monetary expectation, but that commitment is priceless. You can put no value to that, because at the end of the day, it is up to you to make a success of the opportunity that is being granted to you, isn't it? So
Yes.
I love what you're saying, and well done for offering this to the young girls, because not only are you equipping them with essential life skills, and I mean essential tools and skills to enter into the industry, but you are also then at the same time equipping them with essential life skills. And for me, on top of top of the list is commitment, because like I said, with that comes a discipline to start something, change something, and to do something about it, and not to have a mindset where being acceptant of where I find myself at the moment, and this is it. There's nothing more for me, you know. So that is quite powerful.
I just want to say something also is that
Sure.
some of the girls that I'm training, are teenage mothers. And so often we would look at her, blame her, and judge her. And in whatever your beliefs, religion, or um, your morals or faith tells you it is wrong, one of the things that I try and focus on above that teenage mother is the child. So, what happens if a teenage mother is being thrown out of the house and disowned, and whatever it is that we do with them if they fall pregnant? Um, there's still a child, and that is why the cycle in our community continues, is because we don't look at trying to empower, irrespective of whether the mother has now created the sin or did something that we don't agree with. At the end of the day, we are, so to say, punishing the child also that didn't ask to be here. Instead, what we can do is change that mindset, try and rehabilitate this girl so that she can give a better future to that child whose father has now maybe gone off because it's festive season or whatever the case may be. look at the child and try and create through the mother a better opportunity and future for that child who didn't ask to be here.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's exactly that, Soraya. It is basically saying that, you know what, your life just took a little bit of a detour. It took a little bit of a detour, but use that detour to advantage and give that life to that child, and in a different way, that um lessons learned for yourself, and then do things differently. Like that. I'm
And
going
we
to
are
come back
all
to you, Soraya.
okay.
Fasika, are you back? I thought you went to go have another dress change or fashion change.
Poor
Fasika?
Bo.
Or bow?
I don't know. It just went away. I don't know. It just went away.
No problem, no
It's
problem.
quite noisy in the
Fasika, I want
background. I
to
didn't expect it to be so noisy.
Fasika, so I want to ask you, you are a young entrepreneur. So what advice would you give to a youth sitting at home that is very an aspiring youngster wanting to enter into the fashion industry or the clothing and textile industry? What has been some of what has worked for you in terms of getting you to when you found yourself at that point and getting to where you are now? What advice would you give to them or guidance?
First of all, I think you need to know what you want. Um, you need to know. I mean, Suraya is the perfect person to go to. I mean, she's offering, sewing courses and stuff like that. And that's where I started off as well. Before I even knew that this was going to become my career, I always knew that I wanted to make my own clothes. So I started off with doing sewing and pattern making course. And that is how it started off for me. So I would definitely say think about what you want to do, ask for advice. You know, everybody's willing to give advice nowadays, and there's a lot of people that is offering to give youth opportunities. Suraya is one of them. So I think, yeah, go do a sewing, go for a sewing course, go for whatever courses you can go for, learn as much as you can, speak to people that's been in the industry for long, because I mean, I learn things every single day. I'm still learning new things, and I suppose it's like that with everybody. We don't always know everything. So definitely, like, ask for advice and be willing to take the advice. And everything is not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of obstacles in the way. But if you really want to do it, then you just do it. Finish and clear. There is nothing that can hold you back if you really, put your mind to something. So, yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Fasika. I mean, that's very wise words from a young entrepreneur. Fasika, so a little birdie told me that you had some big thing happening yesterday, I think. So to maybe just share that with us.
So, I've always been working from home. Everything happens at home in my lounge. The sewing takes place there. My clients come in there. It is just a terrible space to be at. If you're working from home and you have a business, it's the worst thing ever. So I recently signed a lease, my very first lease. It's in Table Bay Mall, where I have a little pop-up shop. So it's called the Fashion Cube that was launched yesterday, and I am one of the vendors that is in the Fashion Cube. It was very nerve-wracking, very overwhelming, but now I think I've gotten into the swing of things, and it's super exciting.
Wow, that is quite a huge commitment, isn't it? I mean, it's a huge financial commitment, but it's also quite a scale up
Yeah.
in terms of where your business is going. So well done to you, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it's just gonna go from strength to strength. And
Thank you,
I
Samantha.
think, and I also just want to echo a very important thing that you mentioned, or that you shared, is that you started off by working from home as many small businesses do, we all start from humble beginnings, isn't it? Now, the
Yes.
problem of our young people today, unfortunately, is that they want that instant gratification. They want that instant, it must happen now. I don't want to work hard for it. I want to go from A to Z in a day. I don't want to. I'm not thinking about that. There's the pipeline and the pipes in the middle that you actually have to work for it. You actually have to put in the effort. And like Soraya said, you actually have the commitment needs to be there. So I think it's important that we remind our young people that you have to that instant gratification never really works because growth the most beautiful growth happens in those humble beginnings, isn't it? Because that is where your platform starts, that's where your foundation starts, that's where the story starts. And that story is always going to be a reminder, no matter how your business grows or how far you go. But that story is always going to keep you grounded as a reminder where you started and to keep you focused. Do you agree with that? What do you think?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suraya,
Yes, dear.
um, yes. So, what is I always like to ask people, what is their daily formula? Now, what is your daily formula to get up every day and to do what you do?
You know, if I could share my WhatsApp message this morning, and I saw the other day some TikTok video where this woman said, when you stand up in the morning, and it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, but if you get to stand up, even if you stand up in a house, and I'm talking to youth because I'm talking to the youth in my community. If you stand up in a house and there is no sugar or porridge or bread, but you got up this morning, you opened your eyes and you could get out of bed. That means that God still has a plan for you. Otherwise, you would have been dead. He would have taken you in your sleep and your life would have been finished on this earth. And this morning, when I woke up, I got a message from one of my students who attended in 2018, beautiful long message, her saying how grateful she is to me for planting the seed, and she went further and she actually finished her last exam at Northlink College today for dressmaking, and she sends me pictures of the stuff that she's now made and how she's going to take this further and how this has changed her to realize her passion. And that for me is successful. No money, no money can amount to that feeling of you knowing that you've made a difference in someone else's life. And I get up with that same enthusiasm every morning, knowing that, people always talk about, so what's the impact that you're making? How many girls have you? I don't care about that. If I can get every morning one message from somebody, even if I've stopped them from committing suicide, that for me is enough. That for me is that I have made a difference. And so I want to stand up tomorrow morning again and hear another story of someone who was able to stand up.
Yeah, I like that. That is so profound. That is so powerful. And it is that, and the reason I like to ask that is because life happens and no day is the same. But at the end of the day, there are many things that is outside of our control, isn't it? But what is in our control always is how we respond to what is happening in our space. And that is what makes the difference.
And finding
Um,
your purpose,
yes, absolutely. That is, and
and that's deep.
that is very deep because once
And
you
to
find your
find,
purpose,
yes,
yeah, and that is also something that is actually seen as a life skill, especially for our young people, because once you truly connect with what your purpose is, everything else in your life becomes so clear in terms of the way forward, because you just know this is what I'm meant to do, this is what I have to do. So absolutely. I think we lost Vasika
Pasicha
again.
again.
Yeah. So the point is that I am very inspired by what you had said, but also more specifically in terms of what you're doing, especially for the community, because there is purpose in that. The bigger vision is it's so profound in terms of what I know, what will come from it, but also what it is doing for those young girls. Because basically, it is not only are you breaking that cycle, but you are also um, giving hope, giving a chance. You might just be. Never underestimate the power of your purpose or what your story is, because you might just be the breakthrough that that person needed to hear or to relate to or to link up with, isn't it? So I always believe in the power of your story and the power of sharing your purpose. So thank you for that. Um, Fasega, what is your same question? What is your get up and go or your formula, your daily formula when you get up every day?
I wing it. I am very bad at time management. I suck at it. So the main thing for me is when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is pray. Because I believe that, I wouldn't have been here if I hadn't do what I do. So my thing is, first thing I do, I pray, um, and I get up and I start a checklist. So I would say, okay, this is what I need to do today. And as the day go by, I just tick off whatever was done for the day. I tick off whatever I left. I carry on for the next day. So I'm trying to slowly work on time management and do the things that I set out for the day to actually stick to it, because a lot of things get and come in at any time, and it disrupts your whole day. So now that I'm in this situation, I'm away from home, it's much easier. So I think, yeah, time management for me is the main
Yes, absolutely. I think
thing
Fasika's just experiencing a bit of a bad connection, but she also touched on a very important point in today. I'm sure you will agree with me. Is time management, especially for an entrepreneur, is probably I almost want to say it's like a make or break if you cannot master your time management, how you spend your time, how you divide it up in your day, because that will determine where most of your energies are spent, but also it will determine where you yourself are going as a person and which direction your business is going, isn't it? So
Yes.
time management very, very essential. I know that. So before we will be wrapping up, but before we go, um, I think it's important just to end off both Suraya and Fasega, just an encouraging note or message to our youth, please, particularly those that are eager and that are aspiring, that's sitting there with a creative talent for fashion, for clothing. Just very briefly, an encouraging note to them that you would like to leave them with. Soraya, we'll start with you.
I've got two things to say, which is very short and I can't elaborate on it. But the one that I always follow is get up, get dressed, and show up, irrespective of what the circumstances is. You don't have to put on a mask and make like you smile. The other thing that I always even tell myself every day, don't you want to see what happens when you don't give up? Like for any youth sitting there in whatever circumstances and wanting to do this, but for whatever reason, is not able to do it or cannot, or telling themselves that they're not good enough, just ask yourself, imagine the possibilities and what it will look like. I'm talking about myself. to see what it will look like because you
Yeah.
didn't give up.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot because it's exactly that. And there's so much power in that. Imagine if you didn't give up, or
That's
imagine you
dreaming.
did give up.
Your
Exactly. Keep the
business
dream
dream. So
alive.
you sit
Yeah.
and you can see yourself having this massive, Fasiha, you can say, you were in your lounge the other day. And now imagine you did not, or you said to yourself, I can't do this anymore. My lounge is looking dear Maka. I'm just going to give up and leave this whole thing. You are now in a mall, securing a little cubicle and expanding your brand just because you did not give up.
Exactly. Fasika, are you with us? Shem, I think Fasika is having a really bad connection.
You can see she's not impressed with this connection problem,
No,
Shane.
she's not. She's not. But if we don't get her back, Soraya, if we have youth obviously wanting to connect with you for that opportunity that you were talking about, um, we are showcasing, as you can see on the screen, how to get in contact with Youth Connect. I will then just refer them to you directly. Would that be okay?
Yes. So
Thank
we've
you.
we've got a registration that's opening soon. So I normally put it onto my social media platforms, on my status, and from there the registration process. I'm trying to do a video so that I can explain all the questions because we are closing on the 15th of November of December. And then after that, we'll open again in January. But
Okay.
yeah, if as
Okay.
long as they on my platform, if they like my page or I save their number and they are able to see my status, they'll be able to know what's happening and when it's happening.
Okay. And that is the Design 26 page. Is that right?
Foundation, foundation.
Design 26 Foundation. Okay, thank you
That's
so
correct.
much, Saraya. Fasiha, before we lose you again, you're like a little naughty girl with your bow that keeps on disappearing, hey? Before we lose you
This
again, just some
is,
final words of encouragement, please, to the young people listening in.
I think
Oh man.
Oh, we lost her, but while she possibly might come back, just to remind all those listening in, is that if you have any questions, if you would like to connect with Saita Youth Connect, you will see on the screen we've got the Youth Connect Facebook page, we've got the Saita Media Facebook
sorry.
page, and then we also have the Youth Connect email address. Fasiha, you back quickly before we lose you again. Some final words. Fasiha? Okay, while she's still connecting. So, and then recently, you will see that we now have the Saita app available that can be directly downloaded from the Play Store, which is very exciting. So, what you will find on the app is all opportunities that's available, everything about Saita. So, for example, if there are training opportunities, if there's job opportunities, we will post it onto that app and you will have access to that. So download that app, which will be amazing and it will be very beneficial, particularly for our youth. Thank you very much, Suraya and Fasiha, in her absence. I'm sorry that we couldn't get her back. But in the spirit of fashion and clothing, I thought I'll end off a little bit cheesy, seeing that it is Friday and it is fashion and we all sort of resonate and connect with our different fashion styles. I thought I'll say, may your Friday be fantastic. May you have an awesome weekend and may you step out boldly and connect with your fashion trends. Thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend and take care.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.